Well, it's a nice winter day here in Southern California, and thought I'd show you guys today, not so much a detailing video because frankly I'm not honestly that great at detailing, but I wanted to show you all of the areas on the R129 where water might collect. This 1994 R129 is 30 years old as of October. October 93 was its build date, so it's 30 years old now. Sold as a 94 model. So it's old, and you know, the rubber seals and that sort of stuff, they're in pretty good condition, but the top is not watertight by any means. So some of these seals, the water will get in after you wash or during the wash of your car. And I've just learned over time some tricks when you're washing your car on how to eliminate as much of the water buildup as possible. So you'll notice I'm parked on my driveway, which is got a slight slope to it, and I like to park it so that the rear of the car is pointed downwards, and that's so that water that collects underneath the roof seals right here where the hard top meets the body, so that water actually has a chance to slide backwards out of here. So that's one tip I learned. But I'll go around and I'll show you some other spots after I wash the car. I'm gonna wash it and I'm gonna dry it, and then I'm gonna open up some of the areas of the car, and you can see where water still collects that you need to address and clear out. Now, these cars aren't really known for having rust problems, but obviously, you know, having water sitting in your car in different spots, not a great thing for the car, and we want to take care of these things to preserve them, right? So I'll get to washing, and then I'll get back to showing you where all the water will collect. I wash as quickly as I can, so there's not much downtime for me to film the washing process. But while the car is soaking in the suds, that's a good opportunity for me to stop and let it do its business. But the soap actually helps you see where water can start accumulating on the car. Specifically right along the back here, you can see some of the channels here, so water you're eventually going to need to blow out of there. Goes underneath here, down inside the crack of the trunk here. Third brake light right here, which a lot of people say they need to replace when they pick these up secondhand. Water accumulates in there, obviously behind the emblems too. I'll pop the trunk open later to show you, but up underneath here, sitting on top of the headlight, is a little ditch basically where water can sit. Antenna, possibly, if it's not sealed great, water can get in there. The seals along the side, the bottom here, water can get in there and sit there. So it's not that it's leaking, it's just that I don't really like water sitting in there. The biggest culprit is going to be up here, and when I rinse this off and scrub it and everything, rinse again, you'll probably know the water will be actually on the inside, so I'll show you that too. The cladding along the bottom, water gets behind it. There's not much you can do about it unless you want to take the cladding off every single time, but now then you run the risk of breaking plastic. Headlights, of course, you can see water dripping down in there, so I like to blow out all this area too after I rinse. If you've got a front license plate cover, it gets behind there as well. Corner lights, same as the headlights, you know, water sits inside of here, and again, it may not leak in there, but it still sits, and I just don't like water sitting on the rubber like that for too long. So the car's had its final rinse, so once I finish doing that, I like to go through with some battery powered blasts of air, and I go after those areas that I showed you where I know that water accumulates. I'll spare your ears, I'm not going to make you listen to a leaf blower, so you can imagine, but I'm going to target, you know, these areas that I told you about where there's, you know, the seals underneath the hard top, these channels behind bronze/gold, I'm not sure what color it is, these pieces. Try and get around in the seals up in the roof there. I've got a trick for that though that I can show you in a bit after this thing is dried. I'll get the ridges of the tail lights, the back third brake light back there, blow all the water out of there as best I can. Yeah, go through and just try and get as much of the water out with air as I possibly can. I'll go over it with a towel afterwards. A towel specifically made for car drying, so it's nice and soft. And then I'll go through and do some compressed air. I've got a little battery powered compressor just for blowing up bike tires and stuff like that. Obviously if you got a full air compressor, that's better, but I just use mine for some more spot work, like specifically around the headlight area. Try to get some air out of there that the leaf blower can't get out of there. Anyway, I'll be back when the car will be it'll look dry for the most part when I come back, but I'll show you where there's still water hanging out. The detail work on cleaning with compressed air, I use this little Ryobi air compressor that most people use for filling up basketballs and bike tires, that sort of thing. But I find it works for me pretty well for getting those crevices in the car where water will stick around. I have a plastic tip on the end here. Try not to touch the car anyway, but in case it does touch, this has been very soft and hasn't messed up my car at all. So I'll go around. You will hear an air compressor, so apologies for your ears, but I figure you do want the payoff to see where some of this the water is accumulating. So I'll go around the car and show you. Now that I've gone through and done the compressed air, I open everything up. So I've got the hood opened. If you want to, you know, avoid hitting your head, put in the service position, flex on the neighbors. They'll be impressed by that. I've got the doors open all the way. Got the trunk open, and here's a trick that I do when I'm drying the car at the end here, is I pop the hard top up so that it's just sitting in there. So this is the position that the roof will be in when you lay it on top before you activate the hydraulics to pull it down into position. So I pop it back up, which is also the position it would be in when you take the hard top off, so I can reach under there. No matter how much compressed air and leaf blowing I did, there's still water under there. And you probably don't want that sitting there. In fact, I don't know if you can see it, but the seals have water sitting on them too. So I reach up under there with my towel and I'll go and get that dried up. This is no surprise. I mean, all cars do this kind of, right? Water gets in here. You can even see some soap still here. So water gets in here. Didn't get inside of here, although at the top it does get in. And so probably a product of my car being old, and the seals just not fitting exactly how they are supposed to, something like that. But the water gets in here and actually drips down on the seat. You can see it's not a huge deal, but you can see why I like to get the water off this car as fast as I can after washing. Down here on the bottom of the door, you can see a ledge right here. There is rubber right there, but water can sit in there. Now, I'm not in a zone that gets snow or ice or anything like that, so water is about the most I'm going to get in here. But it is a good idea to go through here with your towel and dry that off too. All right, in the trunk, seals are working, and you can actually see that some of the soap is still there, right? But water gets down in here, beyond there. So I like to go through with some compressed air and get that out as well. Okay, same story on this side. You have that same channel down on the bottom of the door. Water's on the sills right here. This section, you can actually see some water right there. All right, so that's not even in the rubber. It's actually gone down in here. I'm gonna have to check that out and see why. Underneath the hood, the only thing I've noticed here is that you can dry up things a little bit better, but there is this here, and sometimes water drips on here. In fact, there's a little bit of water inside that screw head, so I take some compressed air again and I spray that out just to get it dry. You know, overall it's a pretty watertight car, all things considered, with a hard top that you can take on and off. It's 30 years old, but these are some precautions you want to take if you got one of these, so you make sure the water's not sitting on your seals after you wash it, because a lot of us might wash it and then put it away for a while. Most of us don't drive these every single day, so you can just imagine the water sitting there for days, just sort of resting on the rubber there. So hopefully these tips helped you. All right, take care. I almost forgot to show you. This is that spot on top of the taillight that I was talking about. that water, you can still see some soap in there too. Water accumulates in there too. So this is plastic, and obviously water sitting on plastic's not great either. So it's not as sensitive as rubber, but definitely want to get that out of there too. And I've just noticed I don't normally clean up under here. I just found this, so clean up under there too.